Hello, my dear friend. A very warm welcome to all of you. In this session, we are going to read everything about oxygen therapy that we are giving to the patients. है ना? So, when we read about oxygen therapy, of course, these are the devices which we go through. है ना? First, we have the nasal cannula, then we use the mask, normal Hudson mask, the second one. And this one is the Hudson mask which we have. And then we go for non-rebreathing mask. Then we start high flow nasal oxygen, and then we use non-invasive ventilation which the man is using, and then in the dummy you can see we have done the endotracheal intubation for breathing. So how we decide which one to use and what are the various questions that can come from it, let's read all of it, all about it. Okay, so first thing is that there can be some situations where there is absent or mild dyspnea, and but the patient having low SpO2. Okay, the SpO2 is low, which you are measuring by pulse oximeter, है ना? That is the uh, peripheral oxygen. So that can be low, but still patient do not have any dyspnea. That is known as happy hypoxemia, in which there is absent or mild dyspnea in spite of having low SpO2. Now, low SpO2 we characteristically say when there is SpO2 less than 94%. Then we say it is low. So, how we measure the SpO2? Of course, one is this SpO2 is the peripheral oxygen saturation, which we measure by pulse oximeter. But the other way to measure oxygen is the arterial oxygen partial pressure, which we know as PaO2. This is PaO2, partial arterial oxygen pressure. And then we have one more thing, PF ratio. What is PF ratio? This is the amount of oxygen present in the arterial blood by the fraction of oxygen in the inhaled air. FiO2 stand for fraction of oxygen in inhaled air. Okay. For example, like if we are having a let's say PaO2 of 60 mmHg, okay, and the fraction of oxygen in inhaled air, suppose it is 40% or zero point 0.4. So what will be the PF ratio in this case? In this case, the PF ratio will be 600 by 4, or it will be 150. Okay, simple. So this is 40%. This 40% is the fraction of air in inspired oxygen in inhaled air. Okay, or inhaled or inspired air. Okay. Now, third thing we can also calculate is this SaO2 ratio FiO2. Okay, that is known as SF ratio. Okay, and if SF ratio is 235, because SF S is can be calculated by let's say SpO2 and F is FiO2. So if we have SF ratio of 235, it means the PF ratio is 200, and if SF ratio is 315, then the PF ratio is of 300. All these things which I am teaching is from the AIMS guideline of management of oxygen, giving oxygen therapy to corona patients. Okay, so our target of SaO2 in the ward is 92 to 94%, and in the ICU the target is 90 to 92%. Now, when we talk about oxygen therapy, there are two type of one is the oxygen delivery devices. There are different type of oxygen delivery devices, and under that there can be a conventional oxygen therapy. So in the conventional oxygen therapy, there is one high flow oxygen therapy in which system provide all the patient inspired gas, and all the inspired gas come through the system, and therefore the amount of oxygen in the inspired air remains same. So we have the Venturi mask for this. Okay, or we know the CPAP and VPAP machine, na, the continuous positive airway pressure machine, na, or the variant pressure airway machine, CPAP, BPAP, these all comes under the high flow oxygen therapy, in which the system provide all the inspired air. And then second type of airway conventional air therapy is the low flow. In low flow, we take some air from the device and some air patient sucks in from the surrounding air. For example, all this nasal cannula, the mask which we use, and the non-rebreathing mask which we use, they all are low flow device, because in this some oxygen comes from the oxygen cylinder or the oxygen concentrator, and the remaining oxygen patient sucks from the air. Now, remember, more the minute volume, lower the FiO2. If a patient is in respiratory distress and he is trying to take a lot of air, then the percentage of air which is coming from the device, from the oxygen cylinder, will be low, because major amount of air will be from the surrounding and less amount of air will be from the oxygen cylinder. So as a result, the fraction of oxygen in the inspired air become low. Okay, so remember it, when the minute volume increases, FiO2 lower. Let me explain it, how we calculate FiO2 and what happens when the patient is in respiratory distress. So when the patient is not in respiratory distress, then suppose he is taking 5 liter of air per minute. How he is taking 5 liter of air per minute? 2 liter of air is coming from the O2 flow from the device. This 2 liter is coming from the device, and the remaining 3 liter is the air which is drawn into mask from room, because we draw some air from the room also, that is 3 liter, and 2 liter is from the device which we are using, let's say oxygen cylinder or oxygen concentrator. So in this case, if there is no respiratory distress, from the room air, we all know that in the room air the oxygen concentration is 21% in the air, and from the device we are taking 100% of oxygen. So 2 liter of this 100% of oxygen and 3 liter of this 25% oxygen which is coming from room. So when we have to calculate FiO2, we calculate it by multiplying 100%, means what? 100% can be written as 1 and 21% can be written as 0.21. So this is 100% of 2 liter air and this is 21% of 3 liter air. Okay, so if we, and the total amount of air that the patient is taking when the patient do not have respiratory distress is 5 liter. So how much FiO2 it will come? It will come around 53% FiO2. That means amount of oxygen in the inhaled air is 53%. But opposite to that, when a patient is in respiratory distress, so because of respiratory distress, patient take large amount of air from the room, from the surrounding. So 2 liter is the air which is coming from the device. Device is giving 2 liter of 100% of oxygen. Okay, and from the air, the patient, when under respiratory distress, he is taking suppose 28 liter of air. Okay, so total amount become 30. 2 liter plus 28, 30 liter. So in this 2 liter, the amount of oxygen is 100%. So again, I have written 100% as 1. Okay, and in the air which the patient is taking from the surrounding, the amount of oxygen is 21%. So I have written that as 0.21. If you calculate it, it becomes 26%. That is why when the patient is in respiratory distress, even if he is taking large amount of air, actually the oxygen concentration in the inspired air become low and it reduces. So that is why we need to use some devices to prevent the respiratory distress, because whenever the respiratory distress will be there, in case of respiratory distress, the minute volume will be more and FiO2 will be less. Okay, and when the patient is not in respiratory distress, the minute volume will be less, and FiO2, you can see FiO2 will be more. And here FiO2 is 54%, 53%. So you understand? That's why I said in the beginning that the more air we suck in under respiratory distress, the less will be the FiO2. More minute volume, less FiO2. Okay. So now, what are the low flow devices? Remember we talked about it, that we have two type of devices, low flow and high flow. Okay. Low flow is nasal cannula mask and non-rebreathing mask, and high flow is Venturi mask, CPAP or BPAP. We can understand low flow and high flow better with this simple diagram. That suppose this is the breathing pattern of the patient, and the patient is breathing normally like this. Okay, so this case, the air which the patient is taking, if he is taking normally, this amount of air is given by low flow device. This is low flow device which give this much of air. But when the patient start, let's say, comes under respiratory distress, then the amount of air which the patient takes is more. But this excess amount of air is not given by low flow device. Low flow device give only this much of air. Okay, and when we use high flow device, then high flow device has amount, it can provide air up to this much amount, and up to the amount which the patient is gasping. Okay, so this not gasping, but up to the amount which the patient is taking from air. So this high flow device is something which give enough amount of oxygen, enough amount of oxygen needed during respiratory distress. But in case of low flow device, we have only the basic amount of air which the patient is taking. Okay, that's why in the low flow device, patient draw the remaining air from the surrounding. Because suppose I am using low flow device. So in a low flow device, this much is the remaining air. This remaining air is not given by the device. So this remaining air patient takes from surrounding in a low flow device, because low flow device give only this much of air. But in high flow device, patient need not to take any air from the surrounding. All the air which patient need is coming from the device. Okay. So low flow device give less air, so the patient need extra air from the surrounding. But high flow give more air, so patient do not need to take air from the surrounding. Okay. Now, let's discuss some of the low flow device in which patient can need to take extra air from the surrounding. First is the nasal cannula, which we all know, which we all use very commonly. So in the nasal cannula, they have said that we can use the flow of up to 1 to 6 liter per minute. Okay? If we have to give up to 6 liter per minute, we can use it. And in the nasal cannula, the fraction of inspired or inhaled fraction of oxygen in the inspired air is 24 to 44%. How it is decided? For every 1%, for every 1 liter increase in the air volume, the FiO2 increases by 4%. Okay, because in one of my video I have discussed how to use oxygen concentrator, and usually the oxygen concentrator which we use is of around 5 liter or 7 liter, maximum 10 liter. So if the patient is taking, let's say, 1 liter per minute from the oxygen concentrator, FiO2 is only 24%, and the oxygen in the inhaled air will be less. And with every 1 liter increase, you can see the FiO2 is increasing by 4 everywhere. 24 to 28, 28 to 32, 36, 40, 44. So the maximum FiO2 from nasal cannula is 44%, and the maximum value of air, volume of air which patient can take from nasal cannula is only 6 liter per minute. Okay, so 6 liter per minute is the volume, and 44% is the FiO2 coming from nasal cannula. So nasal cannula will not be useful if the saturation of the patient is, let's say, less than 90%. It's not so useful, but we can still use it up to 85%. But below 85%, of course, there is no use of giving only 6 liter per minute of oxygen. We need more amount of oxygen to the patient. So it can be used up to SpO2 at 55%, but usually we use cannula up to 90% SpO2. And if the SpO2 is 90 to 94%, then we can give it by nasal cannula, usually not less than that. Now let's talk about the face mask which we commonly use in our hospital setting. That is also known as Hudson mask, of course. So in the face mask, there is one problem, that if the flow rate is less than 4 liter per minute, then there is chance that we are rebreathing carbon dioxide. So if we are using face mask, please keep the flow rate above 4 liter. That's why we say that up to 6 liter we can give by nasal cannula. After that, we go for face mask. And face mask we can use, let's say, from 6 liter to 10 liter. If we are using face mask for more than 10 liter per minute, then there will be, the FiO2 will not be very high. And so there will be wastage of oxygen, because the maximum FiO2 achieved, maximum amount of oxygen in the fraction of oxygen in the inhaled air that can be achieved is 0.6 or 60%. So we cannot have very high amount of oxygen by using face mask. So we do not give more than 10 liter per minute of oxygen to patient who are on Hudson mask or face mask. So what we use next after face mask? We use non-rebreathing mask. And you can see the image also. Non-rebreathing mask is a very simple thing. In the mask, there is one bag, plastic bag is attached with a valve. So what it does is that we can, the air can come in this breathing mask, but the carbon dioxide which we exhale, it do not go in that bag. And so the patient do not inhale carbon dioxide again and again, because it has one-way valve in this breathing mask, non-rebreathing mask. That's why it is non-rebreathing, because we are not breathing the carbon dioxide again and again. And this bag has a capacity of 1 liter. Now, the delivery of oxygen increased by this non-rebreathing mask. It increased from, it is around 0.8 to 0.95. That is 80% to 95% oxygen comes. Fraction of oxygen in inhaled air is 80% to 95%. 80% when the amount of oxygen is around 10 liter per minute, and 95% when it is around 15 liter per minute. And it depends on how tight the mask is used, because ideally in non-rebreathing mask, there should be no gap, because if there is gap, then again we can suck in air from the room. We don't want to suck in air from the room. So we want to have a tight non-rebreathing mask used here, and it can increase the FiO2 from 0.8 to 0.95. So let's quickly revise the three things. When we say nasal mask, here the FiO2 maximum is 44% or 0.44. When we use the Hudson mask, here the FiO2 which is maximum is 0.6. But when we use the non-rebreathing mask, in non-rebreathing mask, the FiO2 is up to 95%. Okay, it's 0.8 to 0.95. So that's why if we have to give oxygen more than 10 liter per minute, 10 to 15 liter per minute, we should not use Hudson mask. We should use non-rebreathing mask, because it increases the FiO2. Now, after non-rebreathing mask, suppose still the patient SpO2 is not coming to 94%, because what is our target SpO2? The target SpO2 is 94% to 95%, maximum 94 to 95%. And we have already discussed the target. In ICU setting, it is 90 to 92, and in ward setting, it is 92 to 94%. In ICU setting, it is 90 to 92%. So if this 94% has been achieved in the ward, then we need not to keep shifting to other device. We can be assured that patient is taking enough amount of oxygen, because the oxygen delivery system in our blood, it follows a sigmoid curve. That means from this 94 to 100%, the amount of oxygen which comes in the blood is almost the same. So it's not very different if we are giving 94% oxygen or 96 or 98. The amount of oxygen in the blood will remain the same. So we need not to increase the oxygen after 95% in every patient, especially in ward setting. 94% in ICU setting, 92% will be enough. So to achieve this target, suppose this target is not achieved by non-rebreathing mask, what we do, we go to fixed performance device. And in fixed performance device, we have this Venturi type mask. What happened in Venturi type mask is that the amount of flow of oxygen is limited and it is coming through a machine. Okay, so the O2 passing through small orifice entrains air to a predictable dilution. The dilution is predictable. That is why the FiO2 is fixed, because the amount of air which is coming and the amount of dilution with the atmospheric air is also fixed. So we have a fixed FiO2 through this Venturi type mask. And this FiO2 is adjusted by changing the Venturi valve. We change the Venturi valve according to the FiO2 we need, and we also set the appropriate O2 flow rate through the machine. So we fix the O2 flow rate and we fix the Venturi valve. So there are different type of Venturi valve mask which are coming in the market. If the Venturi valve mask is of green color, then it is giving 60% of FiO2. If it is in red color, then 40%, yellow 35, orange 31, white 28, and of course 24 is the light blue color. So mostly we use the green one with 60% because that's the maximum we can get. Okay, but sometimes we can also use the red one with 40%. So these are the various images which is showing you the use of Venturi mask in the patients. Okay, you can see the Venturi mask being applied to the Hudson mask, and we have this Venturi mask which we are applying here. So what that does, it maintains a predictable dilution, because we can maintain the O2 flow rate through the instrument, and we can make it sure that how much FiO2 we are getting in the patient. So that's why it is fixed performance system. Now, if still with a Venturi mask we are not getting the saturation which we want, then we can go to high flow nasal cannula, which give high flow nasal oxygen. It is high flow nasal oxygen is given by high flow nasal cannula. So this is the image of a high flow nasal cannula. You can see the patient can eat and talk with it, so it's easy to apply. But there is one mistake in this image. What is the mistake here? That the patient is not applying the surgical mask, because when we are using high flow nasal cannula, there is a very high chance of aerosol transmission. So if patient is on high flow nasal cannula, they should use a mask, and then we should the mask should be there. Otherwise, the aerosol spray will be very high. Okay. Now, that's why they are saying in the guideline of AIIMS also that we have to place surgical mask. Okay. And what we do, we fit the nasal prong and we initiate maximum flow. Now, FiO2 depends as per oxygenation, because it is coming from the device. You can see the device. The healthcare worker or the nurse is setting the device, the oxygen flow. So it's as per oxygenation, FiO2 is fixed. One main advantage of high flow nasal oxygen cannula is that it flushes nasopharynx oxygen. So when you flush nasopharynx oxygen also, there is less dead space, and that's better, because less dead space means we have better oxygenation. Now, one more advantage is that the expiratory obstruction which we are getting, impedance means what? The obstruction which we are getting. So the expiratory impedance which we are getting, it generate it generate positive expiratory flow rate. It generated extrinsic positive expiration pressure to 4 to 6 centimeter of H2O. So there is an impedance also in the expulsion of air, and that is positive expiratory expiratory pressure. Because you might have seen in patients that when they breathe, they take air lightly, but they take it very quickly. And so if you are expiring very quickly, then what happens is that carbon dioxide CO2 concentration increases in the patient. And because of increase in the CO2, gradually the breathing become much and much difficult. So there is, you can say it is very shallow breathing. They take it in and they take it out quickly because of increase in respiratory rate. So this high flow nasal cannula, one thing it does it decrease the dead space. Second thing it does it create a pressure when the air is going out. As a result, the expiration is less, and as a result, the breathing becomes shallow and more relaxed and more deep. Okay, and one more advantage of high flow nasal cannula is that because we are giving oxygen through the device, so in that device we can set the temperature also. We start with 34 degrees Celsius and we gradually go to 37 degrees Celsius. So we are giving warm, humidified oxygen to the patient. Okay, so when we are giving warm and humidified oxygen to the patient, it's better for the nasal mucosa of the patient, and that's why we can give high flow directly to the nasal cannula. Okay, so this is the way by which we give high flow nasal oxygen. Okay, but there is one big problem of high flow nasal cannula, or high flow nasal oxygen, that we can delay the intubation. Because we think that we are using HFNO, so we can delay it. So how to detect that high flow nasal cannula is not useful here, and how to detect it? Because in the high flow nasal cannula, these are the various parts. Let's just quickly go through it. One is the breathing tube, other is the nasal cannula that we apply to the patient. This is the host device, and the cart, it's just a simple thing. And so we have a humidifier also here in the device. And this plastic part is the humidifier which we have, and it maintains the temperature also. So how to predict the high flow nasal cannula failure? Because if we do not detect it, then we can delay the invasive process, we can delay the other methods, and we can delay the intubation. So to detect it, we use a ROX index. How we calculate ROX index? Very simple. SpO2 by FiO2 we put in the numerator, and in the denominator we put respiratory rate. So SpO2 FiO2 divided by respiratory rate, this is ROX index. Now, if the ROX index is less than 2.85 at 2 hours, it's respiratory. It indicates that we should change from high flow nasal cannula to other method. If the ROX index is less than 3.47, again it indicates that we should shift to high flow nasal cannula. We should shift through some other method. And the third thing is that if ROX is less than 3.85 at 12 hours, it also indicates that high flow nasal cannula is something which is not sufficient now, and we should change to some other method. Now let's come to non-invasive ventilation. Okay, non-invasive ventilation without intubation, we can use the continuous, continuous positive pressure, and a continuous positive pressure, CPAP or BiPAP. Okay, CPAP is, of course, we know that we give continuous positive pressure. So this is not something which is very good for the patients because it is giving a continuous positive pressure, but in some situation we use it. But mostly we use the varying positive pressure, BiPAP. And in BiPAP, of course, there is two components, the expiratory pressures and the inspiratory pressures. And we keep a difference in that. Okay. So the EPAP, what is the function of expiratory positive pressure breathing? That when we have pressure during expiration, as a result of that, the alveoli dilate very well. And when alveoli dilate very well, the lung capacity increases. So when the lung volume increases, the functional residual capacity of the lung also increases, and it improves oxygenation. So when we have positive pressure during expiration positive pressure, it makes alveoli larger, it increases the lung volume, and it increases the functional residual capacity. Okay. And when we give support during inspiration, pressure support during inspiration, what it does, it augments the tidal volume. Therefore, we can exchange air better. and it improves the CO2 removal. Now we can remove the CO2 from our body better. As a result of that, the work of breathing also decreases. So remember the difference. When we are giving positive pressure during expiration, then our lung capacity is increasing. And when we are giving positive pressure during inspiration, then more exchange can occur and our carbon dioxide concentration will decrease. Okay, so that's the difference between EPAP and IPAP, which we use in a BiPAP. This is a simple BiPAP machine, which you can see in the wards also. This is the inlet for the, this is the outlet of the oxygen. So we put the tube here, outlet of oxygen come from here. And this is the humidification chamber, which we have, humidifier or humidification chamber. This humidification chamber can get detached from the main machine. And we can detach this humidifying chamber from the main machine. Okay, and we can give the CPAP or BPAP through this machine, BiPAP. Mostly it is the BiPAP machine which we are using. Now, there are different type of masks which we use to give the BiPAP. One is the full face mask, which you can see here. The patient is using the full face mask. This is the full face mask. There is some limitations to every mask of such type. One thing is that this full face mask can cause some, like, if the patient is not comfortable with it, suppose the patient is agitated and he is not what you can say is, the patient is not ready to follow your instruction, he is agitated, or the patient is suppose unconscious, he cannot maintain the secretions and other parts, and he cannot maintain the breathing rate, then of course these full face masks will not be useful. Then the other type of mask which we have is the nasal mask. Okay, this is the image showing you nasal mask. Good thing about nasal mask is that your mouth is free to eat, or free to eat, but the problem is that if you are using nasal mask, your mouth should be closed. Otherwise, again, there will be more aerosol transmission and there is more chances of decreased oxygenation. Okay, so this is the nasal mask which we can have. But the best device by which we give BPAP is the helmet device. This is the helmet device in the patient. This helmet device is strapped to the shoulder. Okay, so this helmet device is best device to give BiPAP because patient feel more comfortable in it. There is no pressure on the nose and mouth. How to give CPAP? They say that we have to initiate the CPAP of 10 centimeter at a pressure of 10 centimeter of water, and then we have to move to 15 centimeter of water and titrate to respiratory rate of less than 20 per minute. And we always start with highest FiO2. What is the highest FiO2? 100%, 1. And then we go down, FiO2 gradually go down, and we maintain it to 92 to 94%. Okay. Now, what are the contraindication of non-invasive ventilation? When we cannot use non-invasive ventilation, as I was saying, if the patient is uncooperative, if the patient have reduced consciousness, if the patient have persisted vomiting, then of course you cannot use any of these things, helmet or nasal mask or oral mask. If the patient has hemodynamic instability, and if the patient have copious respiratory secretions, then in these cases we cannot use the non-invasive ventilation devices. What are the adverse effects of NIV? First thing is that sometimes there can be lung injury, self-inflicted lung injury. If you maintain excessive tidal volume, then because of excessive tidal volume, the alveoli will rupture and there will be lung injury. Second thing is that there is risk of aspiration. When the secretion is coming out, but there is no way to take it out, then the patient can aspire it. In some cases, if it is the patient is not so conscious, there can be aspiration. And most important, there can be chance of lung injury. Okay, so then we go for, in all these patients who are uncooperative or who have no consciousness or who have persistent vomiting or who have hemodynamic instability or who have copious respiratory secretion, we go for invasive ventilations, endotracheal intubations. Okay, so that's all. Now let's summarize all the things that we have read here. First of all, suppose the SpO2 is less than 92 to 94% is in this range, and there is no dyspnea, no respiratory distress or no dyspnea. So that is happy hypoxemia. And we have read it in the beginning. Happy hypoxemia, when there is no respiratory distress, no dyspnea. In this case, it is happy hypoxemia. Now, if the patient in such cases have only mild respiratory distress or no respiratory distress, not respiratory distress, we can start with low flow device, because here there is no respiratory distress. So patient will not take large amount of air from the surrounding. And in the low flow device, first we start with nasal cannula, where we usually give 4 to 6 liter per minute. And remember, the FiO2, maximum FiO2 was 0.44. Then we go to mask. By mask, we give 6 to 10 liter of air per minute. And here the FiO2 maximum which we can achieve is 0.6. Suppose still the patient is worsening, then we can move to non-rebreathing mask, and we can increase the oxygen concentration from 10 liter to 15 liter. And here the maximum FiO2 that we get is 0.85 to 94%, 0.94. Okay. But suppose still the patient is not maintaining the saturation, or suppose there is mild to moderate respiratory distress, then we go to, and suppose the patient is using non-rebreathing mask. This is non-rebreathing mask which is using, and the PF ratio is between 150 to 300. It is between 150 to 300, the PF ratio. It indicates mild to moderate respiratory distress. So if the patient is not improving on non-rebreathing mask, then we go to high flow nasal cannula. Okay. We use high flow nasal cannula only when there is minimal hypercapnia, when there is less amount of oxygen retained, and when the lung can do the function, and therefore there is less carbon dioxide retention. So when the carbon dioxide retention is less or minimal, then we use high flow nasal cannula. But if the carbon dioxide retention is more, if the lung cannot do the function, then we go to non-invasive ventilation. And of course, we just read that non-invasive ventilation can be given by face mask, can be given by nasal mask, or the best way to give non-invasive ventilation is by using helmet. The helmet is the better way. But suppose the patient is in severe respiratory distress. When we call it severe respiratory distress, when the PF ratio is less than 150, or when SpO2, FiO2 is less than 196. In that case, we go to invasive mechanical ventilation. Okay, I hope this discussion on different type of devices is useful to you. This is my email ID. If you want me to send this OneNote, the note which I have made to you, you can mail it to me, and you can ask your question or query also to me. So that's all from this discussion. Hope this discussion on this different type of breathing devices, which we start from nasal cannula, then Hudson mask, then non-rebreathing mask, then high flow nasal cannula, then non-invasive ventilation, and then invasive ventilations is useful to you. And I hope you enjoyed this discussion. Thank you very much. Bye bye. Hasta la vista. Das vidania. Bye bye.